Hey everybody, what's up? It's the Broke Capitalist coming at you. And before we jump into today's video with J.R. Smith supposedly taking the red pill, as a lot of people have around the internet, as they've been saying, I want to take a moment to explain why I use the title The Broke Capitalist. It's definitely not to brag about my financial status as being broke or to complain about it, but it's to just put a face to the word capitalism, because you just never, that image of capitalist is like some fat white guy who's trying to steal all your money. Capitalism is not genetic, is not, a genetic trait of a certain race. It's an idea. It's a value system. It's an economic system. No economic system is perfect. Communism, socialism, capitalism, they all have their flaws, but one in particular does not have a history of just mass murder, and that's capitalism, right? Capitalism is an idea that Black people used to embrace. And actually, J.R. Smith in this video mentions it. I'm not sure if I'm gonna play it for you, but that portion of the video, but he mentions Black Wall Street and things like that. So Black people at a point in our history, we really embraced capitalism. That history was post-emancipation. We threw away the chains of slavery, which is basically scientific socialism, and we embraced capitalism. We set up these what's now today called HSBCUs, and through capitalism, we were able to build these institutions and produce people who obtained skills that other people were willing to pay for. That was the Black community. That's when we were thriving post-emancipation. Were we broke and poor? Yes, but we were on upward trajectory in all factors, basically, right? But since the 60s, we've been duped into embracing socialism. And why do I say that? Because I read about it, and you can just see it in everyday life. And I'm just going to point this out over and over and over again until it goes viral, that the African-American culture has become synonymous with socialism. And here we go with, I'm gonna read this. Sorry for those who've heard this before, but it needs to be said. Back in the 60s, the African-American Teachers Association out of New York basically said the following: individualism and personal merit, the African-American Teachers Association argued, was a myth perpetuated by whites to create Black versions of white middle class or Black Anglo-Saxons. The African-American Teachers Association called for an alternative Black value system based upon principles of collective work and responsibility, aka socialism, cooperative economic socialism, and unity, giftedness, and collective work and responsibility, cooperative economics, and unity. Giftedness in Black children could be measured by a willingness to challenge authority. So since the 60s, that's what we've been taught. When we got sent to school, and you're currently sending your kids to school, they're being indoctrinated with, aspects of socialism, and capitalism is being frowned upon. So with that said, with that context in mind, I'm going to dive into this video with J.R. Smith and comment on what he's saying.
What you trying to accomplish with this move you making right now, this transition that you're in?
My biggest move right now is trying to change as many minds that look like us back into the Afrocentric mindset opposed to the Eurocentric mindset. Right?
So he says Afrocentric mindset as opposed to Eurocentric mindset. I don't know. I don't want to disrespect my man, but I got to disagree with that. His definition of Afrocentric versus Eurocentric. I believe he's saying that we as African Americans are more ready to support people outside of our community, Europeans, in their endeavors, as far as like buying European supporting Gucci and Prada as opposed to supporting like a Russell Westbrook brand. I believe that's what he's talking about, but the words he's using is could be somewhat misleading, but just thought I'd put that out there.
Everything we talking about right now, like he was just saying, after he jumps on that grenade, who's going to follow him? We're so trained and it's so embedded to have that Eurocentric mindset that worry about myself, worry about me, worry about mine, worry about mine. I'm not going to help nobody else who look like me build up when everybody else do it but us.
And I kind of think I always say, well, recently I've been saying, we live by a narrative, we don't live by the truth. So that's the narrative that's put out there, that Black folks only care about us, we don't help the community, and everybody else does that. I don't think that's the truth. I think every athlete, especially athletes, they all reach back. I mean, it's to a point where they got a gun to your head called the guilty gun, where if you make any money, you got to get half of it to somebody who can't ball like you. Whereas, like, you don't see Tom Brady, like, I got to go back and give to the, people of San Mateo. One, they ain't living in poverty. But even people, white guys who may play football and come from, a poor background, they were farmers, whatever. You don't hear about them like, oh, I got to give back to the community, because the narrative is they don't need the money. Well, it's a lot of Black folks who's got cousins who making millions of dollars. They don't need charity. They may need opportunity, but they don't need charity. And I'll get into that a little later.
You made over $100 million in your career, right? Is 105 going to change? 110 going to change your lifestyle? Realistically. You know how many people you can change lifestyle with $10 million in our hood? In our communities? We were in the lockout. We were in not the lockout, but we were in the bubble. George Floyd happened. That's right. We stopped playing. We're in there. We're gonna ask the owners for it. We're gonna ask the owners for it. Stop asking them for.
Yes. Yes. Now, this is when people were like, oh, it's a red pill moment, blah, blah, blah. No, yes and no, right? If you got hundreds of millions of dollars, now I'm just going to put this out there. If you got hundreds of millions of dollars, you're going to get a tax break by giving some of that stuff away. And there's plenty of organizations out there that you can give to help a Negro child read, right? Oh, I'm going to give 100 grand, or help some poor family in Thanksgiving. Okay, I'm going to give 200 grand. Well, I'm going to write it. They don't say I'm going to give 200 grand and write this off in taxes, right? Now, I ain't saying they're being disingenuous, but the charity aspect versus the opportunity aspect. The charity gets all of the glitz and glamour. The opportunity, I don't hear about it. I don't hear about it as much. And so I applaud J.R. Smith by saying, look, we got it. Like, especially the athletes, because we know how much they make and all this stuff. We got it. We don't have to go keep asking, him for stuff, or our expectations of him. Oh, he should be doing this for us. No, you got it. In the capitalist system, you got capital, right? Utilize it, make it work. But since the 60s, our culture is just embraced in a scientific form of slavery called socialism. So we would rather donate to somebody to help them eat that day instead of teaching them how to fish. So I really want to make that point. It's okay to give charity, but it's better to teach people a skill so that they don't need charity. It's more, to me, it's better to say, you know what, I'm not going to give this organization $200,000 so that they can just give out loaves of fishes, right? Loaves of bread and fish, right? I'm gonna set up a company, and that company is gonna hire people in the neighborhood, in the hood, so to speak. Now, in the hood, you got a problem with human capital, no skills. This takes me back to HSBC, but right? I'm gonna put that on the shelf for a minute. Okay, I want to hire people to do X at my company. So that company can not only make me money, but the employees can make money. But the education system in Detroit, Chicago, they don't teach skills. They teach African-American history all year round, right? They don't teach the skills that someone else will pay for. So these athletes have the resources to say, create like Magic Johnson did, right? Oh, I'm gonna set up a movie theater or whatever. And hire people in the hood. That's good, but there's the skill set that of taking tickets at a counter, not much. Okay, you get a manager in there and they got managerial skills. That's cool. But some of these athletes could, and maybe some do, but I don't hear about it, can set up companies, and the charity work they want to do is to teach the skills needed not only to make your particular company better, but their lives better.
What are we asking them for? I went down the line. No book. You can show. You can ask these dudes if not. I got Paul George sitting right here. I got DeMar DeRozan sitting right here. I got Russell Westbrook sitting right here. I'm literally sitting next to all of these dudes who are LA guys. I'm like, bro, I'm not counting your chips, but everybody else is. So you make 200, you make 200, you make 175, you make 150, you make 180. Why don't y'all have your own gym? Why we gotta go to UCLA to work out in LA every time? You got your own, y'all all come from the exact same community. You want to inspire kids that look like you. All it takes is 5 of them. 5. 250, 250, 250, 250, 250. What bank gonna turn us down? We about to build this whole shit out for our community. We're gonna build gyms, rec centers, start leagues and all that. Who's gonna stop us? We got the money. We don't have the mindset.
Boom, mindset. We don't have the mindset. And he's right. He's right. J.R. Smith is right. You got generations of African Americans that have been basically pissing on capitalism. Like, capitalism, no. Capitalism is the best economic system there is. You want proof? Madam C.J. Walker, right? She developed a company, hired thousands of people. Her brand is still out there today. She's been gone forever. That's capitalism. Socialism ain't create her empire. You know what I mean? If she wanted a successful company, she couldn't be like, well, this, since all the light-skinned blacks have been discriminating against me, I'm not hiring any dark-skinned blacks. Meanwhile, the dark-skinned blacks got the skill set that's gonna make her money. No, she ain't gonna do that. So again, I'm gonna wrap this around to HSBCUs. Capitalism helped Booker T. Washington build Tuskegee University. It was Rockefeller, some of Rockefeller's money, some of Carnegie Mellon's money, and some of the newly emancipated slaves' money, pennies, or they would go around, and if you read his book, they'd go around selling dinners, and from the profit from the dinner, they hey, take this money and build that school, bro. And Booker T. Washington that university produced carpenters. I mean, tons of skills that other people were willing to pay for. And I went to North Carolina Central University for a year, great place. And when I think about today's HSBCUs, I haven't been on the campus in years, but I haven't heard I just haven't heard of an HSBCU with an engineering program that could compete with a major university. Engineering gives you skills. If you got an engineering degree, especially computer science degree, you're not unemployed. You're just not in this country. You're not unemployed. But how many of us went to HSBCU and graduated with an African American studies degree or women's studies degree. These are just degrees in victimization, in my opinion. Your entire degree is now available on the internet. Who's going to pay you for it? Right? There's only so many teacher positions, right?
Our mindset, we'd rather go throw $60,000 in the club, in the strip club. Go throw $60,000 than go feed 2,500 people in the hood. Think about it. I've done it. I can't sit here and be like, oh man, I'm a hypocrite. I've done this myself. I've thrown money in the club, literally, blindlessly, aimlessly drunk, at a ball. And now I sit back like I'm a stupid ass. I could have fed my whole community 10 times over with the money I was just late on the bus.
Right.
Because I'm so wrapped into me. I got that Eurocentric mindset. I need this designer jacket. I need these jeans. I need this book bag. I need to be looking like this because the vet's got this. I'm pushing this car. I'm doing. Why? Who am I impressing? I'm not even fulfilled with me.
So one thing in my studies of capitalism and socialism, capitalism, if I can make a broad generalization, if you go, capitalism will, if you embrace the values of capitalism, you're going to be more concerned with production as opposed to consumption. And since capitalism is no longer a part of the African American culture, it's easy for us to get caught up in consumption. And so J.R. Smith links Eurocentric mindset with basically African Americans consuming your products that are not made in the African American community, if I'm getting that right. And he's absolutely right in that aspect, because the African American community only produces, well, our main product is entertainment, entertainers, and athletes. That's our main product to the world, right? We consume, we don't produce. And that's a total shift in mindset where if you're like a 17-year-old girl in high school, and every guy in that high school is like, she's the greatest looking thing since, I don't know, Holly Berry or whatever. And you walk around high school and you're like, well, if a guy gonna get with me, I gotta know what he trying to do, not what he trying to consume. Just think of the mind shift. Well, babe, I'm trying to create this new app that does this. It's just a shift in mindset. Now, what would be the repercussions if our mindset as a community shifts from consumption to production? Everything shifts. Everything. Because if you're going to become a producer, you can't live with excuses. What victim produced anything? So you got to get rid of that victim mentality. Now, you're going to have incidents of victimization, but you just can't be a victim. And I've said on many occasions, man, the African American community is just filled with too many victims. The mentality is just there, and people feed off of that. It feeds off itself, and people take advantage of that, especially politicians. So if the mindset shifts to being more concerned with production as opposed to consumption, a lot of dominoes have to fall, and you start to become more independent. All your value, not all of them, but a lot of your values will change. And one of the biggest ones is that victim mentality has to fade away. Because if you have an idea in mind and you're trying to produce it and get it out into the world, you can't let nothing stop you. That victimization stuff falls to the wayside. Guess who would not like for that to happen? Your local Democratic politician.
When did that click for you?
It clicked for me probably the year after we won the chip. The year after we won the chip, I felt like I had everything, and I still wasn't whole with me. because I knew there was something missing. And I couldn't, and for a long time, I went through bad depression with it because I couldn't figure out what it was. Like, I've always had this mission because my parents instilled in me to help my community, help my people, help people around me, help people who look like me. It was always about the kids when I was growing up with my pops. It was always about the kids. And I always wanted to do something like that, but I couldn't. I was tired of putting my name on it and not being on the forefront of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm tired of being able to, I'm tired of being the person to talk about it and not being the person walking it. Because I can't tell you to help out with this and this and that if I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I felt I'm putting people, young brothers who look like me, in a worse situation.
Because they looking up to you.
They look up to me. So when they think, oh, this is cool, this is what they said he did this and that, he did this, he threw soup on a coach or whatever, they think that is cool. Look at what we glorify. Strip club, getting high, setting people up, killing people. Like, look at what we glorify. And they put millions and millions of dollars into this. Record labels put billions of dollars into this and sell.
So is it coincidence that, like he said, there's billions of dollars being put into glorifying failure in the African-American community? Failure, I mean, you can't, how else can you say it? Like, oh, I'm gonna go kill this, you know, N-word, whatever, and it's $1 million, you know, platinum album. It's not rejected by anybody. It's embraced. It's rejected by the external community at first, embraced by us, and then eventually it creeps out into, you know, the following generations. Like, oh, that's okay. Yeah, that's cool. It's trendy. Now we're talking like the failures are talking. Now you got a whole country failing. I hope I ain't lose you there. But here's an experiment. I love to ask Ice Cube this. I did a video about Ice Cube. Love, that's my man. That is my man. But NWA, tell me in the comments what you think. I know, if I'm not mistaken, Ice Cube was raised by his mother and father. And I know pretty much he didn't grow up like in the ghetto, right? The other members of NWA, I'm willing to bet, either didn't have a father figure in their life or didn't know who their father was, right? And I'm willing to bet also that if they did, just imagine you had all, you know, Ice Cube, you had Ren, you had Dr. Dre, DJ Yella, Eazy-E. Just imagine them with a father figure like James Evans, A Good Time. Do you think they would have ever been able to produce music like that? F the Police? I don't think so. This is a little rant, but it ties together, right? We've been glorifying failure since basically the 80s. We've been embracing socialism since the 60s, right? How's that work? Our communities have gotten no better. We got more and more athletes making more and more money, and they still chasing the same problem. Oh, these people are hungry. Oh, a single mom, she's got 4 kids by, you know, 4 different dads, and we got to help her, you know, with her food, you know. And J.R. Smith is like, hey, we need to do something about that, right? I want to give money to, or I want to start a charity too. But I still haven't heard anyone, and if, correct me if I'm wrong, I just say it's not the common narrative, where they're like, look, I want to set up a business and set up some type of schooling that teaches skills other people are willing to pay for. Now, I know Jalen Rose has a school in Detroit, and I'm not sure what that focus is. So he may very well have English and engineering only, but I don't hear about that. So I'm just going to assume it's just a regular charter type school with a regular curriculum. It's just safer or something, right?
And we still get raped off of entertainment.
Right. So this is the why behind your movement right now?
100%.
So it's strategic.
Very. Like, for me, I look at Mike. He got his own golf course. I know. I mean, I've never played it, but a lot of like from what I hear about it, it's very us over there. When you listen to the stories about him going to certain places as Michael Jordan, and white men used to be like, can't play here. This is Michael Jordan. It ain't about that no more. It ain't about the fame. It ain't about how much money you got. It's what you're doing for your people and with it. Because they got golf clubs, country clubs, banks, everything for them. And they let you know it's not for you. We didn't build this for you. Rolex, Timberland, all Gucci, Louis, all these that we wear, they tell me we didn't make this for you.
Right.
And we still spend the most collectively on all of that. Instead of putting it into, you got your, what I asked you about when you was coming from the bathroom.
He asked me what I was doing with my clothing brand and what we trying to do financial literacy for the collegiate kids.
Why would I go spend $50,000 in Gucci? I can go spend $50,000 on him and we can really do it.
Now I'm like,
facts. My cousin went to the U, played with him and everything.
oh, you know the stories about him.
Everything.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a football player first. Like that was my passion. Football was my passion. They tricked me into playing basketball. They told me I could go to this prep school. You can play football, whatever.
You would have been a nice receiver.
I'm like, all right, cool. That's what receiver and safety. That was my.
Where'd you go to high school?
Lakewood High School.
With the Lakewood in Orlando?
In Jersey.
In Jersey, okay.
Yeah. But for me, ever since like I was a kid, I've always had this mission of like helping. Cause my pop, again, my grandfather did construction, my pop did construction. All my uncles, they all worked together. So I got used to being able to see community. Like I grew up, people don't even notice.
So I ain't gonna let this slip. He said his pops and his grandpops. Probably the most important asset in his entire life is his accessibility to a male figure. He's got two pops and grandpops, right? That cannot be understated, man. I think one of the greatest role models I had growing up was two. My own dad, well, three. Okay, my own dad, James Evans of Good Times, and then Jefferson from well, we're moving on up, right? James Evans was raising kids in the projects, right? And my man is way up in this apartment on the east side, made it. He's got a grown kid, but you can see success. You can see he had a success story. Started off small, and he used to live next door to Archie Bunker. His house was bigger than Archie Bunker. Then he moved out of Archie Bunker's poor neighborhood, and now he's moving on up on the east side, right? These are male role models. And that is something that needs to be back in the community. But socialism, along with Marx's ideology that downplays the importance of the parental, the nuclear family, that's what the African-American community has embraced over the past 50, 60 years. And it's been pushed down our throats by a lot of our politicians and media. And I believe when people say J.R. Smith took the red pill, I don't think he's there yet, but he's noticing some cracks in the facade that we call, I don't know what we call it, but he's noticing some problems amongst ourselves that he believes we all can, especially athletes, can fix. I think he hasn't gone across the line. He's not saying anything different, in my opinion. In my opinion, he's saying the same thing I was saying back in 1989. We should do for ourselves. We should do for ourselves. But if we should do it for ourselves in this context of socialism, gets us nowhere. We should do for ourselves like the newly emancipated did. Do for ourselves within the context of capitalism. And like the newly emancipated, we can take off as a community with stronger individual families, or that produce stronger individuals. right? So with that said, I'm gonna let you go. J.R. Smith has some interesting points, but if all of these ideas that these athletes are coming up with are basically new variations of charity, nothing's going to change. It's not going to change. You're just throwing more money at the same problem. And it's not the money that's the lack of money that's the problem. It's the lack of skills, right? It's the lack of skills in our community, period. Take up what Booker T. Washington advocated for, skills that other people are willing to pay for. That's how you make it in a capitalistic society. In a socialist society, whoever has the greatest need wins, right? I got 12 kids. I don't know how I'm gonna pay for it. Well, I feel guilty that I only got one kid and got some money. So I'm gonna give you some money. So I ain't saying this person with 12 kids is winning, but if you're like, all right, you got 12 kids, maybe, you know, your job should be just take care of them kids. But while you taking care of them kids, we're gonna make sure your kids learn some skills and some self-responsibility so this cycle doesn't repeat itself. Your kids don't need master's degrees in victimization, AKA Black studies. You know, take it on your own time to read what happened during slavery. And if you're gonna do that, read the right stuff. Don't read the don't be indoctrinated by, you know, Democrats who want to tell you half lies and a quarter truths. But anyway, with that, I'm gonna let you go. Thanks for stopping by. Leave some comments in the comment section. Hope you guys out there doing well. Peace. I'm out. Have a good one.